In the heart of the Texas chaparral, Old Man Fink, a sheep rancher with a temper as thorny as the cacti on his land, was locked in a bitter feud with his neighbor, the cattleman Rube Fellows. For years, their war had raged, a constant storm of harsh words and mutual sabotage. Fink's sheep were an insult to Fellows's cattle, and Fellows's cattle were a menace to Fink's flock. The animosity between them was a local legend, a dark cloud hanging over the dusty plains. But this year, something shifted. Fink's daughter Rosita returned home from a city school, bringing a breath of fresh air and a wave of new ideas. She was bright, beautiful, and utterly unimpressed by the old feud. To her, the endless bickering was just silly. Around the same time, Rube Fellows' son, Dick, also came back to the ranch. He was a strapping young man, more interested in the future than in the grudges of the past. It was inevitable, perhaps, that Rosita and Dick would meet. It happened one day near the line that divided their father's lands. A chance encounter bloomed into secret meetings. They talked under the wide Texas sky, their conversations a stark contrast to the silence and anger between their families. They fell in love, simple as that. Their love was a quiet rebellion, a green shoot pushing its way through the hard, cracked earth of their father's hatred. As Christmas approached, the festive spirit did little to thaw the icy relationship between Fink and Fellows. In fact, it seemed to make things worse. The air was thick with tension. Dick and Rosita, however, saw the holiday as an opportunity. They hatched a plan, a desperate, hopeful scheme to bring their families together. They knew it was a long shot, but love had made them bold. They believed in the magic of Christmas, in its power to heal old wounds. Their plan was simple but daring. They decided to throw a Christmas party and invite both families. The invitations were sent, little white flags of truce in a long and pointless war. The initial reactions were, predictably, explosive. Fink scoffed, and Fellows swore, but Rosita, with her gentle persuasion, and Dick, with his steady resolve, worked on their fathers. They spoke of peace, of family, and of a future free from the shadows of the past. Slowly, miraculously, the two old ranchers began to soften. Maybe it was the season, maybe it was the earnest pleas of their children, but they reluctantly agreed to a ceasefire. On Christmas Eve, the Fellows Ranch was transformed. Lights twinkled, a fire roared in the hearth, and the smell of pine and roasting meat filled the air. The Finks arrived, hesitant at first. Old Man Fink and Rube Fellows stood on opposite sides of the room, their arms crossed, their faces grim masks. The silence was heavy, thick with years of resentment. It seemed, for a moment, that the plan had failed, that the chasm between them was too wide to bridge. Then, Rosita stepped forward. She began to sing a Christmas carol, her voice clear and sweet. Dick joined in, his deeper voice a steady harmony. One by one, others in the room added their voices. The music swelled, filling the space where anger had festered. Fink and Fellows looked at each other, then at their children, their faces illuminated by the firelight and the pure, simple joy of the song. A strange thing happened then. A smile, small and rusty from disuse, touched the corners of Fink's mouth. Fellows cleared his throat and offered his old rival a drink. It wasn't a grand gesture, but it was a start. They talked, their voices low and awkward at first, then easier. They spoke of the land, of the weather, of the struggles they shared. They found common ground, buried for so long under layers of pride and prejudice. Later that evening, under the mistletoe that Rosita had cleverly hung, Dick pulled her close. He asked her to marry him, right there, in front of everyone. Before Old Man Fink could even process the shock, Rube Fellows clapped his son on the back and boomed, "Well, it's about time." A wave of laughter and applause filled the room. The feud was over, washed away by the tide of Christmas spirit and the enduring power of love. The injunction on their hatred was lifted, not by a court of law, but by the hearts of their children. That's Christmas, in the middle of the Texas chaparral. Two families found peace, proving that even the most stubborn feuds couldn't stand against the hope and love of the holiday season.